Hello, hello. This is John S. Rhodes, and this is a little bit offbeat, a little bit different than other videos that I have been creating recently for the Rhodes Brothers YouTube channel, and that is widely distributed in other places as well. And the reason that this is different is that this is a bit philosophical, which is exactly why I am creating it this way. And if you stick with me throughout the entire teaching and the training here, I think you're going to have something of a realization, perhaps a revelation, maybe even a breakthrough that you can apply to your everyday life. I have to start with a quick story here. So every single day that I can, which is at least 350 days out of the year, probably closer to 355, maybe 360 days out of the year, I have a morning routine that I follow pretty well. And I will also say that as part of that, I reflect on my time, I reflect on my day, I practice gratitude. I also look at my accomplishments and achievements to kind of check and make sure that I'm on track. And I also just make sure that I don't forget anything and that I have a proper set of habits and a system in place so that I don't let things fall through the cracks. And you might be thinking that this is a video about that morning routine. Well, if you happen to be interested in that morning routine, then by all means go ahead and do yourself a favor and let me know in the comments below. And I'll tell you more about my morning routine and also what the Rhodes brothers do on a regular basis. But this is more, again, from me again. This is John S. Rhodes. Of course, you know that. So, as part of that morning routine and the gratitude and the reflection upon the previous day, one of the things that I have found myself doing over and over and over is I get caught up in the moment, and I get caught up in the moment in the wrong way. So I definitely get my to-do list done, created, and then I start getting after it. I start working. I start, fighting through the day. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially if you're still working and you've got a day job or you're perhaps an entrepreneur and you're fighting and struggling through your prioritized to-do list and you're getting the most important things done, and you're also probably aware and maybe even actively pursuing things that help your health and wellness and fitness. Perhaps you're focused on fat loss. Maybe you're looking at vitamins. I do all these things and I have for a very long time. I've looked at things like hydration, the right nutrition, how to eat more protein, eat healthier organic food. I'm sure you do the exact same thing. You're thinking of the exact same kinds of things that I am, but probably different, right? Same, but different. And you might be in a different place in your journey as well. You might be younger, might be older, and you're spending that time. Very, very important. And I would also say that you're probably spending some time, or you very much care about relationships, your parents, your kids, your peers, and you're thinking about what they're doing. You're probably, inadvertently trying to keep up with the Joneses. And I got to tell you, I do the exact same thing. I'm kind of looking out to my peers and my partners, family members at times, and I'm trying to figure out what they're doing. I want to know what they're doing. And I don't think that I'm trying to compare myself to them. And I'm not trying to beat them, at least not explicitly. I'm not trying to do like, I've got to do so much better. It's not that. It's that I'm looking for them because they are a reference point. And along those lines, it's something mimetic, right? So I look, I copy. I look, I copy. And they do the same thing. They look, they copy. And then that's a lot of the reason for the harmonic vibrational frequency alignment with you and other people, especially your peers, your friends, your colleagues. You get closer and closer to their vibration, their frequency. And I know that sounds woo woo and so on, but you end up using, to be practical, you end up using much of the same language they do. You take on some of the mannerisms, you take on some of the straight up attitudes, right? You watch the same movies and shows that they do, and then it compounds and so on. And you're thinking about that, but you're not. So you're thinking about that and you're not. And I know that because I am thinking about it, but I'm not at the exact same time. And That's interesting because I talked about health, wellness, and fitness, and then I talked about relationships. Well, how about money? Well, guess what? It's the same thing. Where again, I'm spending time on what I did yesterday, what I have to do today, what's due tomorrow. I'm planning. I've got my goals. I've got things that I'm going to check in on. I'm going to be logging into certain websites at certain times. I'm going to track my progress. I'm going to use charts and graphs. I'm going to check in with the materials that I've already got to, verify how far am I from my goal. I'll look at my calendar. I'll look again at my to-do list. I'll reach out to people. I'll make some phone calls, do my email. And I'm sure you're doing something very similar. You're living your life and you're doing things and you're very active. And I know that you think that you're thinking. I know that. And you know why? Because I think that I'm thinking. I'm sitting here even right now as I'm looking you in the eyes. If you're looking, I'm assuming you're looking. If you're not, you're hearing me. And we are closer than we were before because you're listening. So we're closer to the same vibration, closer to the same wavelength. You might pick up a few ideas that resonate with ideas that you have, and you think that you're thinking. And then I'll say something maybe unique, like don't think about the pink elephant. And then you can't help think about the pink elephant. So you're like, oh, he got me. Now I'm thinking about the pink elephant. Now I've done the same thing with myself where I'm listening to someone else. I'm thinking about what they're thinking. I'm, mimicking. I'm copying what they're saying. And here's the deal. This is it's I say insidious, but I don't mean like evil or bad. What's insidious is because I'm listening and thinking and I have an aha, or I even have a mental breakthrough, not a breakdown, a breakthrough, like, whoa, awesome. What'll end up happening is that I think that I've done the work. Now, here's the weirdness about it. I have done the work. I've done the work mentally, and I've done the work not unconsciously. I've done the work consciously because I'm tracking what they are saying. And then I'm saying, that fits. That makes sense. I got it. So awesome. And I just learned something new, or I learned 5 things new, or I learned 10 things new. And I'm even doing other things that seem very positive, highly positive. I'm blessing the other person. I'm blessing their wealth. I'm writing in my gratitude journal. I'm, hugging my wife and my kids. And so there's the emotional thing. And then I also am eating properly and I'm exercising, right? And I'm doing these things. I'm doing them. I'm actually doing them and I'm thinking about them. And yet that still is not right. We're still not there. There still is a challenge. There still is a problem. And the reason that you're with me right now is that you sense that despite you sense this, you actually know this, not even sense it, like it's like you know that what I'm saying is true. There haven't been things that I've said that are like lies or deception. What I'm doing is I'm speaking the truth, or at least I'm speaking my truth, which is a funny way of saying I'm saying things. You're listening and you're agreeing and you can confirm or maybe deny or look something up and like, okay, but you're using your mind to figure these things out, and you're also using your body as well. You're using your senses, your eyes, your ears. You're maybe holding a phone, or you're using a keyboard on a computer in some way. It could be some other environment. You could be watching this on TV for all I know, and you're involved. So you're not only mentally involved, and not only are you possibly on the same wavelength or a similar frequency, vibrations in the universe, woo, right? You're also physically involved as well. So what I'm about to say is somewhat shocking. It really is truly shocking because even as I'm sitting here, I violated something that I wanted to talk to you about. I violated it. And what I am talking about is, rather than me saying and doing and thinking, I need to sit here, and it's extremely difficult. I need to sit here and observe my consciousness. I need to sit here and observe my observation of the camera, of the screen, of you looking at me now. I need to observe that from a place of elevation. I need to step away from my physical body mentally to look at myself. Now, there is a book that you may wish to pick up that gets at some of what I just said about having an elevated awareness or maybe an elevated consciousness. It's The Untethered Soul. It was one of many books that I read a while ago that turned me on to this idea that no matter how much you think you're thinking, no matter how embedded you are in reality, and in fact, the more you're embedded in reality and the more you're trying to do, no matter how good it is, no matter how much willpower you use, no matter the end impact to other people, you are embedded in your thoughts, and you are you are embedded in your thoughts, you're embedded in your actions, you're embedded in the world. And you think, well, that's fine. And no one has told you otherwise. And it's very unlikely that you have had a regular experience of watching yourself. And I'm not talking about videotaping yourself, although that's something. I watch the videos that I create exactly like this one, and I think to myself, wow, is that really what I said? And indeed, I have to just say this is of value and I'm providing it to the world and it's going to resonate with you. There's a person out there, you, who are seeing this and hearing this, and that's who this is for. It's for you. It does me very little good to talk about this out loud, other than guess what? I'm hearing myself talk and I can reflect on it and I can remember to elevate myself. I can remember to watch my lips move, my eyes move around. I can watch myself look up into a light. I can watch myself move my fingers around. Like I'm watching my fingers in front of my face and I'm watching what I see on the screen as well. But I'm watching it from up back here as an example, or over here. I'm like watching myself do these things. And it's a place that you put your consciousness. And it can be miles away, it can be inches away, it can be above, it can be below, it can be around, it could be a place where your consciousness, your thinking is the I, the true depth of you is watching what you're doing. And this just came back to my mind recently after reading another book. It's called Awareness. I cannot think of the author's name, but if you're interested in the book, please in the comments below do me a favor and say what is the name of the author of the book, the second book you mentioned called Awareness, and I'll drop a link in, or someone else can do that, or maybe I'll think of it and drop it in. But the point is that as I'm recording this, I get the chills and the shivers because I realize that I'm doing what I read about, and this is the first time I'm doing what I read about in relation to that book that I am wrapping up now. I have a few pages left, but it's very rare, very, very rare to be watching yourself. And what's interesting is I told my son something that shocked him, and he couldn't talk for a few seconds, and he says, I feel exactly the same way sometimes. And this is what I said to him. I said, sometimes when I'm around people, I feel more distant to them and myself than at any other time. Again, when I'm around a lot of people, the more people, the worse that this gets. And it's not like agoraphobia where I'm afraid of crowds. It's that when I'm around persons, or a group of people or a lot of people, I tend to lose myself and I blend in with the crowd and the consciousness of the crowd. And I didn't say all that. I just said if I'm around people, sometimes I feel more less human. I didn't say that either, but less of myself is, I think, what I said. I feel like less of myself when I'm around a bunch of people. Then when I'm out in nature, that's when I know myself the best. And when I'm not thinking about my thoughts and I'm not thinking about other people, I'm just in nature. I'm going for a hike, I'm going for a walk, I'm relaxing on a bench, I'm just taking in the sunlight. That's when I'm aware of myself the best, and I'm not thinking of myself. I'm not elevated deliberately looking at myself. And that's the closest that I get. Anyhow, I said that in far fewer words to my son, but the reason that I'm bringing that up is so you can understand that I understand you, that when you're surrounded by people, it can be draining, it can take a lot out of you. Very, very importantly, you're absorbing and reflecting and dishing out, projecting so many different wavelengths at once. There's all these wavelengths of all these people coming in. Some are coming in and getting absorbed, some are being reflected, and then you have your own unique thoughts that are being sprayed out. That energy, even if it's just thought energy, microelectric, biomechanical, whatever electricity going out, or even nothing, just your consciousness reaching out. And it might show up in something as simple as your eye twitching, right? Or it might be you raising your eyebrows in just a certain way at a certain time, or maybe it's like your shoulder moves just so. Maybe you straighten your back, or maybe you slump down. It could be unconscious, and in fact it probably is unconscious, and then therefore when you walk away from the crowd, you are more likely to feel drained. Even though you're around people and you're excited and it's fun, you're drained. Like, why would I be drained if I'm around these people that I love and have fun with, and they're fans and they're cheering and it's a crowd? Whatever the situation is, like, why would I be burned out? And sometimes there's a certain high that you get around other people, and then it lasts, and then it just drops right off. Other times it'll like be like a slow burn, and it'll last. We can go through lots of these scenarios, but what you need to realize is that's what I'm talking about in terms of the wavelengths and the vibrations in your consciousness. It's not meant to be woo-woo or any kind of whoa, other realm, although it might be. Let's just say it's just physical, mechanical kind of stuff. There still are things that you and your body really are doing, and subconscious, unconscious, you're just not aware of it, and it's still happening. And that subconscious activity, that vibrational activity, that biomechanical, electrochemical energy is being drained. And in some cases, it might be replenished by certain people in certain circumstances, in places that you never even expected. And if you remove people from the equation, you don't have to be like, oh, I don't like people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when you're around them, there's a lot of chaos and confusion, and you lose yourself that much more. You're less of yourself. And this is where I think a key piece of your future comes in. That is, if you want to be more productive, if you want to be more alive, if you want to be more physically fit, have better relationships, if you want to be more charismatic, and so on and so forth, the more that you need to understand and see yourself from an elevation, from a deeper, further away consciousness where you're watching yourself, and you're almost like watching a play. You're almost watching yourself on stage act things out, and your consciousness is watching you, the body, and the mind, and the heart and spirit in a way, but you're still elevated, and you're watching these things transpire, and you're able to say, well, that person is as if they're in a video game, and I'm going to push them in this direction for greater prosperity, greater wealth, greater connection, greater love. And you can do that much easier if you're elevated, if you're aware. And that's really, if I was going to say the two steps, it would be first of all, awareness of your situation, awareness of where you are, awareness of yourself in that circumstance, your body, the situation, the other people, the context. And then after you have the awareness, like I'm here, like right now, again, here are the, right? I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And then you elevate. Then you elevate. Now, here's what's so interesting about all of this, right? We're getting near the end, but stick with me. You might think that this is, just totally off the wall, totally nonsensical. I doubt that because you are here. But what you'll notice is that you're not working extra hard. In other words, you're not putting in extra energy to get what I'm talking about. You're not working extra energy. You're not working extra hard to get the charisma, get better relationships, to get the fitness, to get the right words to come out of your mouth, to get the right connections with people. The work actually decreases. It decreases. There's not a matter of faith or belief that this works, which again is kind of why it's like, I guess it's spiritual, but it's not meant to be spiritual in that sense. I'm not talking religion. I'm talking about something as simple as the first step being awareness, which is just like opening your eyes to the situation and having that breakthrough occur in the here and the now, right? This very moment. Like the breakthrough is the awareness is the breakthrough. And what's amazing about this is that breakthrough, that awareness, right? We're going to make them functionally equivalent for a moment, right? Functionally equivalent. The awareness and the breakthrough are the same thing, and you can have breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. So it's like, oh, I wish I could have a breakthrough on whatever. Name it. If you want the breakthrough, all you need to do is have awareness. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of your thinking. Be aware of the situation. Be aware of the people. The very, very first step that will lead you to the breakthrough, really gives you the breakthrough, is awareness. Like, whoa, what is the importance of the project? What is the value of that activity? Who is that person? Who, that's you, who is talking to that person? Well, you are. What is it that you, which is you, what is it that you're aware of it, right? What is it that you are doing? And then you say, why did I do that? That's the you talking to yourself. When you talk to yourself, you are still in that trap. You are still in the trap of the present moment of you, in your body, in your mind. You are not elevated. You are not aware. When you're talking to yourself, you are talking to yourself. You're in a bubble chamber. You're in a box. You're in a sphere. You're trapped. It's not until you have awareness where you're able to look through, look down, look around 360. That's only when you're able to do it, is by way of awareness. And once you have that awareness, the breakthrough has started. You either have the breakthrough or the breakthrough has started. It has begun. It is the beginning, because the awareness then leads to everything else that you're able to see about and through and around yourself, and what it is you, as the physical body and the mind and the consciousness, are working on. But if you're elevated, right, aware and then elevated, aware, elevated, if you've done that, then you're able to really control yourself. You have power over yourself. You finally have a grasp on yourself, and you are embedded in reality. So you're aware, right? So you're aware and then elevated, aware and elevated, and then you're able to control yourself and your situation and your understanding and your consciousness. You're able to direct yourself with true, free, elevated awareness, right? It's free will. This is where the free will truly comes from, because if you're embedded in reality and your consciousness is, tied up with what's happening in the here and the now and the physical, and you're thinking like this, it's all in a self-contained system. You're embedded in your own little self-contained universe. But the problem is that gives you very little flexibility except within your universe, which is also everything, but that's another topic for another day. If you'd like me to talk about that, let me know how you are your own universe. In any event, so you must be aware and then elevate. Once that happens in the here and now, in your body, in this universe that is wider and much grander than you can possibly imagine, I say that for fun that way, then you're able to take the right steps by guiding yourself, guiding from an elevated position, and utilizing your free will, having true freedom. This is where it comes from. As it is now, you are tethered. You are a slave. You are unaware of what you aren't even possibly aware of. Like you can only think within this framework and within this body unless you're aware of it and then you elevate. That is the only way that that can happen. Now, again, this is a long journey that we've taken together here. And as I said at the very, very beginning, this comes from having done a tremendous amount of self work over time without realizing that I would actually reach a point where I would be able to be somewhat awakened to the reality that I was in. There are plenty of conversations out there. You've seen the movie and you've seen the conversations about being caught in the Matrix, caught in a simulation, or one of multiple realities. These are all fine. They're all interesting. You can make some intellectual headway with them, but it's very difficult to actually take action on these things. Like, oh, I'm caught in the Matrix, and break free from the Matrix. Okay, and the question is how are you going to do that? How are you going to break free from the Matrix? How are you going to break free from the patriarchy? How are you going to start worrying or stop worrying about your side versus the other side? You'll realize very rapidly that you can have awareness and elevate and understand that the conversation of us versus them is a non-starter. There is no us versus them. It is deliberate, it's manipulative, it's other people imposing their will on the environment and the physical reality, on the consciousnesses of everyone. And rather than being like this, it's like this. It's bigger. It's the same thing though. Collective consciousness, right? Collective deception. Call it the Matrix, call it an alternate reality, call it the physical world, call it quantum. It really doesn't matter. If your mind is trapped like this, as I've described, thoughts, thinking about thinking, thoughts, and we just expand that out, and it's all culture, it's nations, it's politics. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The sense of unease and despair at times, and depression and anxiety that you have, because I feel it too. I don't accept it. I try to reject or at least understand and find my way, navigate my way through it. But I realize that it's because I'm in it, and I'm in it, physically in it and mentally, consciously in it. And then it's not until, guess what? I'm aware, and then I elevate, and then I see that the political system is one system. It's the us versus them, the have and the have-nots. Pick any two countries that are at war with each other, us versus them, must pick sides. This is a simple philosophy. It's the us versus them, the black and white fallacy. And all you need to do is say, I'm aware of this. I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it. It doesn't mean that you have to have the intricate details, but you're aware of it. And then once you're aware, the freedom starts to, you don't get instant freedom in all cases. Sometimes you do, but the freedom happens after the awareness, and then you have elevated. So that is what I wanted to share today. That is the message. And again, this is outside of what I would normally be talking about with the Rhodes Brothers, which is exactly why it's here instead. But if you are interested in capitalism and commerce and making money and doing other things that improve your physical and mental life in the here and now, check out the Rhodes Brothers channel and our associated materials. But again, there's zero pitch here. There's nothing I'm expecting. I suppose the only thing that I would appreciate is you subscribing, and I suppose leaving comments below about what else you'd like to hear along these lines. Feel free to, pull at the various threads, as it were, so that I know what it is that is resonating with you the most, and then I will pile onto those areas that make the most sense or that you need to know more about, or where you just need the depth. I'd be happy to do that. That's exactly how I can provide value to you, and we can grow closer. And if we do business someday, fantastic. If we don't, if we just shake hands, if we break bread someday, fantastic, fantastic, wonderful, lovely. And with that being said, this is John S. Rhodes. I appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next teaching.